Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day to join me and watch this video. I am very excited to share this topic with you as it's something that I feel is part of everyone's journey that is attracted to energy work or chakras or muscle testing or anything in that realm, which I kind of all encompass under energy work. And most of us are believers. We believe in a higher power. We believe in something more than ourselves. And sometimes it's hard to get the concepts that we've been traditionally brought up with or that we believe ourselves to see how energy work fits into that. Because we feel that it might be of value and something that's a good, true thing, but we aren't sure how to really align that with our spiritual or religious beliefs. So I wanted just to share with you my journey and my understanding, and hopefully it will help spur you on your quest for truth and your understanding and help have some clarity in that respect. So with that being said, I am going to speak in terms of my personal religious beliefs, which will involve the words God and the words Christ. And I don't do that to distance myself from you. I just do that to be true to myself. But please, as you're listening to my testimony, as you're listening to my experience and my thoughts and insights, please substitute that with your own beliefs and your own understanding and your own words that resonate with you, so that you're able to have your own testimony. You're able to have your own experience, because I really believe that that's what this is down to. What it boils down to is having your own experience and having your own understanding. And this is, I know, a big stumbling block for a lot of people. And so just please translate stuff into your own terminology and seek your own answers. Because just because I said it doesn't mean it's necessarily true for you. I truly believe in seeking for your own answers and your own confirmation through your own divine pathways. So without further ado, I'm going to share my experience with you, and then I'm going to share a few different scriptures, a few different just experiences that I've had that have led me to where I am today. And I hope that it helps you. So this isn't necessarily going to be a lesson today. Good morning, Deanna. Good morning, Stacy. Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning, those that are joining us live, or joining me live. I guess it's not us. Well, me and the cats. This is just going to be more of a testimony, and I want you just to see how this might help you in your own journey and help you seek your own answers and your own inspiration and insight, because we all have access to that power. We all have access to that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. So first off, I was introduced, I actually, oh yay, Kristen's on here live. I actually was not brought up with holistic anything, natural anything. It was, you got sick, you went to the doctor. And guess what? I lived at the doctor. I was sick all the time as a kid. It wasn't until I was introduced to essential oils that I started looking at alternative things. And I actually avoided natural stuff for a long time. But as I got introduced to oils and I started seeing them work on me physically and work on me emotionally, I realized that there was some greater power here. And I remember the first really strong experience I had was at my first essential oil class. And I really just went there to see my friend, because she was back in town visiting. For those who know Megan Norp, she was in town visiting her sister-in-law, and I just wanted to see her. But in this class, God said so loud, and is one of the clearest inspirations I have received to this date: you need to do this, it will change your life. And that was on repeat for about a month and a half before Marissa Johnson came down and taught a class at my home, and I signed up and got my oils. But that first inspiration was so clear, and little did I know what do this meant, and what essential oils would do for my life, and what worlds they would open up in my life. And also at that same class, it made sense to me that God wouldn't have left us alone. He wouldn't have created us and created this beautiful world and left us alone without tools. And these essential oils were a tool. And that's something that I had never even considered before. And I think a lot of us are like that, right? We grew up in this Western allopathic medicine model of thinking, hey, I get sick, I go to the doctor, I get a pill, I go home and I either suffer through my symptoms or I take a lot of medication that makes me feel even worse. And sometimes it does make you feel better. But that's all I knew. I didn't know that there were other options. But as I'm sitting in this class, it was just like, oh, of course God left Adam and Eve with medicine on this earth. And that clicked for me. That was the first that was the first tool that clicked in my head that there's something more out there that I'm missing. And so as I went along, and I really just I didn't really want to try the oils and be a hippie smelly girl, but lo and behold, it happened. And I saw these oils start opening me up emotionally. For most of my childhood and adult years to that point, I was I think I was 33 when I went to my first oil class. I had defaulted to the feeling of numb so that I wouldn't feel the pain, because I'm very susceptible to depression, genetically and environmentally. It was just something that my parents struggled with, my grandparents struggled with. Like, it was a generational thing that we struggled with, was depression. And so to avoid that, I went to the default of I'm going to feel numb. And because if I was numb, I couldn't feel the pain, but I couldn't feel the highs either. And so I really was just kind of this flatline existence emotionally. And if you knew me, I could put on a happy face and I could be bubbly and cheery, and I could play that part really well, because there is a part of me that is that way. But that's how I was conditioned. That's how people like you, is when you were bubbly and cheery and just fun and goofy, and so that's what I would do. But as I started using these oils, I know I'm going to cry during this, so just, it is what it is. This is something that's very near and dear to my heart, and it's something that's just is my personal journey. So these oils started opening me up emotionally. I was able to feel again. I was able to feel joy. I was able to feel deep love. I was able to feel excitement. And so I started listening for what God was trying to tell me. And so I started learning about the emotional properties of these oils, and I was blown away. I was blown away by what these oils were doing without me even being conscious about them. They were opening me up. And some of it was painful, and some of it was beautiful, but it was all healing. And as these oils started working on me emotionally, and I started becoming intentional and aware of that aspect of the healing of these oils, that opened many other doors into different energy modalities in the concept of energy work. And so I was starting to be more open to that. Oh, okay, there's other things out there. And my awesome mom was introduced to muscle testing. She was doing service weeding at a temple up in Utah, and some ladies there were talking about muscle testing, and she's like, I need to learn that. And so she learned that, and she passed it on to me. And so this was, probably a year or two after, I think it was just a year after I had been using oils. And as my mom taught me about muscle testing, it was like the heavens opened. It was like, of course our bodies can tell us what they need. Of course they can tell us. We just aren't listening. And it was like this huge missing piece of the puzzle in my life. And it made perfect sense. I knew our bodies were miracles. And I knew that there was so much more that we just didn't understand, that I didn't understand. But as I was introduced to muscle testing, it was just, I knew this was a huge piece of my puzzle on my journey. And so I started exploring it. I started practicing it and testing it. I didn't have a lot other than what my mom had taught me. And I started kind of being aware and starting trying to learn where I could learn more about this. And I was introduced to Laura Jacobs, and I was introduced to other healers within my essential oil world that started putting more pieces into my puzzle. And I was very excited about these pieces. I was very excited for this enlightenment, this new knowledge that I was gaining, and these new knowledge that felt so right. It felt so true, and it felt so part of who I was supposed to be. I was eager to share. And so I was teaching an essential oil class, and I had some people that had come from quite a distance to be there, and they were wanting to learn more about muscle testing. We had talked about it in private message, I think. I can't even remember because this was, probably 6 years ago. But I'm like, stay after the class and I'll show you what I know. I don't know a lot yet, but I'll show you what I know. And as we were finishing up the class, I was like, whoever wants to stay, we're going to be, practicing and learning a little bit about muscle or energy testing afterwards. And the people that were in attendance, there were a couple that were completely offended. They ran like it was just, they were very offended. And that was shocking to me. I'm like, but this is something that's good. This is something that's in alignment with my beliefs and made sense that this would be a gift from God. But I deeply offended these people. And that really made me scared. And that made me go into hiding for probably 2, maybe 3 years of hiding of this. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to share this part of me. This is something that's taboo. This is something that we don't talk about. And so I really went into hiding, and I was very scared. I'm like, well, is this something that's evil? Is this something that's wrong? And so that led me on a big personal journey of a lot of powwows with God, a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation into, is this actually a gift from you, or am I being deceived? And many times it was like, no, this is a gift. This is a gift. This is a gift. And I think probably the 3rd or 4th time I was like really in the trenches, like, is this really a gift? He was just like, Nicole, I have answered this for you many times. This is a gift. This is a tool. This is good. And it was so strong that I knew that I needed to stop hiding. Because I knew that I was a natural teacher, and I knew that I was brave, and I knew that I could be a voice of teaching more people of this goodness and of these tools, because I truly believe that as we are able to remove the shackles of sin, of darkness, of life that come into our lives just through this existence on earth, that we can become closer to our Maker. We can be closer to the person that we're meant to become. And if we have the right tools, and those right tools are going to look different for a lot of different people. If we have the right tools, we're able to heal. And as we're able to heal, we're able to be a better servant. We're better able to help those around us, and we're able to lift people up. Because we cannot help people if we are drowning. We cannot help people if we are in the depths of despair. We have to rise, and we have to find that light within us, and we have to find that strength. And that is something that we all have to go on that journey, guys. I can't walk that journey for you. Only you can walk that journey, and it might have some similar aspects to my journey, but it's going to be your journey if you decide to take it and be that light. And so as I found this courage again, as I knew for sure that this work, that the energy work, muscle testing, that these were gifts from God, and this was part of my journey, I was able to go forward in faith and in confidence that I was doing what was right with the Lord and what was right with me. And so I started having my eyes open and asking him to teach me, okay, I am fully accepting this. What do I need to know? What do I need to learn? And so different modalities, different concepts started coming into my life. And as these started coming into my life, as these different ideas came into my life, I was drawn to different things. And muscle testing for me was huge, because as I learned that the body wants to talk to us, our spirit wants to communicate with us through our body. It wants to tell us what is going on and what it needs and what it wants, what it doesn't like. And God created our bodies that it can tell us those things. That's why I'm such a big advocate for muscle testing. It doesn't mean that I'm if you don't like muscle testing, that is totally okay. That might not be part of your path. Your intuition might be so clear that you don't need that physical manifestation, because all muscle testing is a physical manifestation of our intuition. And I like that it works with my learning style. I'm very hands-on. And so if I can get a positive yes or a definite no through my hands, it gives me more confidence and clarity. Not everybody needs that, and that's okay. And so if that's not part of your journey, that's okay. And so my timeline's all kind of crazy, but I discovered emotion code, I've discovered stones, and I've been discovering and drawn towards different things at different times. And that's all part of my journey. And because they've all built on top of another. And as I've mastered part of a concept, another layer has been revealed unto me. Another insight has been revealed unto me. And so as I study the scriptures, I'm looking for truths that validate that. And so I'm just going to go through a few different scriptural references. Jot these down. I personally use the King James Version of the Bible because I feel that it has been changed the least and is the closest to the original translation that we can get. And so that is my personal translation that I like to study and use. I know the language can be a little bit hard to understand sometimes, but it's what resonates best with me. So that is the version that I'm going to be referencing. So if your references look a little bit different, that would be why. Okay. So the first one I wanted to address, and I'm just going to go through my list because I don't want to miss anything. Please, guys, if you have questions, if you have experiences, please put them in the chat in this live video, or if you're going to be watching this recording later, put them in the comments. Because I think as we all get brave, as we all share our own experiences, that we can buoy each other up. We can help validate and give others permission that their journey is okay. Because we just want acceptance, don't we? We just want to know that our journey is okay and that it's a good journey and that we're on the right path. So the first thing, and most of you that have been in this Holistically Empowered group for a while have seen the post on stones. And there's a bunch of different scriptural references from the Bible of stones that are within the Bible, just like essential oils, guys. I think most of us have probably heard or given or read or watched a healing oils of the Bible class. Oils are all throughout and plants are all throughout. So herbs, oils, guys, are all in the Bible like crazy. So many references. It's you can't mistake it. And you probably, if you aren't aware, like I remember like, oh yeah, oil of what was in there? And it wasn't until I got introduced to essential oils that I started seeing, because guess what, guys? You see what you look for. It's just like when you get a new car and you're like, oh, I love this car, but then all of a sudden you start seeing that car everywhere, right? It's because your brain has been trained to look for that. And so if you train your brain to look for validation of what you have chosen to believe or you feel is true, your brain is going to validate that and it's going to look for things to validate that. Now, be careful with that because that works both good and bad ways. So if you've chosen that, oh, I'm a terrible person, I'm a terrible mom, guess what? Your brain is going to validate that. But if you choose that, guess what? I am a mom doing my absolute best, your brain is going to validate that, okay? So same thing with energy modalities as you are studying, as you are praying, as you are meditating, and yes, meditation is in the Bible many times, which I think is hilarious that is an offensive word for some Christians. And I'm sorry if that's an offensive word for you. I don't mean to mock you. The word is literally in the Bible many times, and meditating. But as you're doing these things, seek for that truth. Look for those things and they will be revealed unto you. I promise you. I had one this morning and I'm going to share it with you today. So the first one is a stone reference to different stones. If you look at Exodus 28, starting in verse 17, it is describing Aaron's breastwork, what he was dressed with to preside in the ordinances in the temple. And it had 12 different stones representing the different tribes of Israel. And you can read the list of stones in there. But that is the first thing, that stones are part of worship. And if you guys saw my post, I'm reading a book about a gentleman who has had some death experiences where he's died and he's had out-of-body experiences, and shared one of the insights that he saw is that as he was going through wood and experiencing different rocks and natural stonework, how they just sang praises of God and how nature just sang praises of God. And that just validated my belief that stones are something that we can use. Now, there are certain practices with stones that I don't necessarily agree with, and that's my belief. That doesn't mean that has to be your belief. So if yours are different, that is completely okay. But I truly believe that they are gifts from God They are here to sing his praises and to help facilitate in his work. Now I'm going to backtrack just a second real quick because I feel this is something important to add. I do not believe that any energy healing, muscle testing, stones, oils, chakra balancing, I don't believe that any of that takes the place of God's healing. Healing is 100% through God. I believe that he gives us these tools so that we can be creators in training. We can learn and we can feel like we're contributing to our healing process. But I truly believe all healing comes through God. And so these tools that we're given are simply that. They are just tools to allow us to feel like we are part of this process and to help us along. I think healing can completely take place without them, but I think that most of us as humans in general, we just aren't able to have that level of faith yet. And we can get there, but it's a progression. And so that's why I believe that we have all these various tools and modalities and concepts to help us and what aligns with us, with our personal experiences and our personal journeys. So that's my little side note there. Okay, so the next thing, and I think a lot of you have seen this post that I made in the group as well. I made this probably when the group first started about a year or so ago. But if you look at Ezekiel in chapter 1, starting in verse 13, this is a crazy vision that Ezekiel has had. And as you read it, he talks about spinning wheels and that these wheels stay with the Spirit and they are part of the Spirit. And even in, so in Ezekiel 1:21, it says, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. And chakra, the word chakra is just a Sanskrit word for energy wheel. And so if you don't like the word chakra, say energy wheel. It's the same thing, or spinning wheel, because it's right here in the scriptures talking about these. And in 28, it says it had the appearance of the bow in the clouds, and that's a rainbow. And so chakras, purple, indigo, blue, they've got these different colors of the rainbow. And so, and talking about how the lightning expanded throughout, about outside the creature and around the creature, talking about the auras and stuff. And so Ezekiel might not have had the right words or words that we currently understand, but if you read that and think about it and kind of try to imagine what he's describing, to me, it looks very similar to the chakra system and the meridian system and aura system that we learned about in Indian and Chinese medicine. And so they just have different words, guys. People have been trying to discover these and have tried to give it the best words or descriptions that they can to communicate and to understand what these different systems are. And sometimes those words might not align with your vocabulary, and that's okay. You can change the words. But just think of that. So that's Ezekiel chapter 1. The next thing, and this is an insight that I had this morning. Right now I'm studying Isaiah, and I'm in Isaiah 51. And this is verse 11. It says, "An everlasting joy shall be upon their head. They shall obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow and mourning shall flee away." Now, if you've watched my emotion code video, you've done emotion code, or you've been a client of mine, when we release emotion, we do it through the head. It goes like you take a magnet or your hand and you go from your forehead to the back of your head and release it. And so when I read, "And sorrow and mourning shall flee away, and joy shall be upon their head." And so as we remove that, those negative emotions, which can be a lot more than just sorrow and mourning, that joy will be upon our heads. And so that was something that I thought was very cool and gave me a visual of the emotion code. The power of words, there's lots of different scriptural references, but I wanted to focus on probably one of the most famous passages is the creation of the world. And in Genesis 1, verse 3, it says, "And God said, and let there be light." And so first thing off is he said it, he spoke it. His power of his words created. Guess what? Our words create. We are creators. As we speak words, we are creating our reality. And as we think words, we're creating our reality. And so God said, so he spoke. That vibration created the world. And so be careful with your words. Be careful with your thoughts. And then the first thing that he created was light. And that's what we talk about in energy work is light. So you'll hear, if you don't hear energy work, you might hear light workers. And light is just truth. Light is what God originally created. That is the first thing. And light is the fastest mover, and it can take information. It can carry lots of different things, truthness, healing, goodness. And so light is important. So those were just some few thoughts that I had as I was preparing for this. The other thing that we talk about and that I teach about a lot is shielding, putting on the armor of God. And I wanted to share a passage with you in Proverbs, and this is chapter 30, verse 5. Every word of God is pure. He is a shield unto them that put their trust in him. And so as we put our trust in God, as we're not relying on ourselves and on our own power, God will give us that shield, and he will protect us from harm, from outside influences, and from anything that is not going to be for our good. And so that is something that I have learned as I have delved into this world of energy work and have it aligning with my personal beliefs, is that there is truth in so many places. There really is. And God has given us our intuition, the Holy Spirit, to testify of truth wherever we can find it. And so guys, as you are researching stuff, as you are learning, as you are exploring, be open-minded, but be sensitive to that light. Be sensitive to that spirit. And if it feels yucky, don't go down that path. And like, there can be things that I might teach about that you're like, Nicole, that's not quite for me. And guess what? That is completely okay. Or we might have guest speakers on here that they might teach a concept and you might like, that doesn't really resonate with me. And you know what? That's okay. Just like in the initial post of this group, we're here just to offer information. And your path is going to be different than your neighbor's path, than my path, than your friend's path, than your sister's path, than your mom's path, whatever. We're all going to have different paths. And so God will kind of put those roadblocks up for you and say, nope, that's not for you. You're going to go down this one. This is where you need to learn. This is where you need to shine. This is where your spiritual gifts lay. And we all have those spiritual gifts. I urge you in your study of the scriptures, study spiritual gifts. They are in there. They are beautiful. They are profound, and we all have them. And if you haven't discovered your spiritual gifts, seek for guidance. Ask God to discover your spiritual gifts, because I promise you they are there. And if you are open and if you are tuning in to your highest version of yourself, those spiritual gifts will be discovered. And that is where your greatness is going to lie. And that is where you are going to shine. And that is where you are going to be your best self and yield the most good in this world. Because if you're trying to be like me, if you're trying to be like somebody else on Facebook or in a book or TV or whatever, you're robbing yourself. You've got to be you. You've got to discover your unique gifts. And so as I've taken this journey, there have been things that are like, I don't really resonate with that, or that doesn't feel like truth to me, or that doesn't feel like it's for me right now. And I will leave it on the shelf. I really, judgment free. It's like, I don't judge that as being evil or wrong. That's not for me. And you'll hear me say that. And that doesn't mean that it can't be for you. But I really urge you to seek for the light, seek for truth, and seek for that personal inspiration and guidance that God is eager to give you. If you quiet your mind, if you seek with a sincere heart, he will give you those confirmation, that guidance, and he will answer your prayers. Just be willing. Oh my gosh, we've been getting a lot of questions that I haven't seen. So, but as you seek, be open to those answers. They might not come in the still small voice in your mind of understanding. It might come through something I say, or something somebody shares on Facebook, or something that you read in a book that spurs you on a thought